All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We're talking about the Minnesota Vikings in tonight's video. They're in such a great spot. I really don't understand why they're not. They're coming off, oh, that rhymed. They're coming off a 14-3 season, folks. Pretty much every single Vegas sportsbook had this team's win total over under set around or at 6.5 wins. And they go out there and they pick up Sam Darnold, the journeyman. He's bounced around the league, usually in less than ideal situations, and he just absolutely lit it up. 4,319 yards, 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 66.2% completion percentage. They pair him up with a tandem. Aaron Jones rushes for a career high over 1,100 yards. What I would do, and we're going to talk about it, but what I would do with this is, and I find it so funny because a couple of games ago, or a couple of games before the end to the Viking season, unfortunately, one and done, 14-3, right? The loss to the Los Angeles Rams. It's just funny because like a couple of weeks prior to the end of the regular season, people, not Vikings fans, definitely not Vikings fans, people were saying, oh, Minnesota's in a really good spot here. Now you know Sam Darnold is your guy. You're about to win 14 games. If it wasn't for the Detroit Lions, you're winning the NFC North. Now is the time to trade J.J. McCarthy because NFL executives and scouts across the league don't view any other quarterback as that good. Nobody values, basically, I know that was confusing. J.J. McCarthy is better than any other quarterback coming out of this year's draft class. And I just find it funny how, all right, well, Sam Darnold loses the playoff game, and now everyone's talking about, oh, well, you don't want to pay him too much money. You could sign him on a team-friendly deal, a more flexible deal, but you don't want to pay that much money for a guy who did that in the playoffs. And I just think it's funny because the Minnesota Vikings just drafted hopeful franchise QB and J.J. McCarthy 1 year ago. What's there? And you went 14-3 and you didn't even play a game. What's there to be concerned about? What is the issue with the Minnesota Vikings? I'll tell you what the issue with the Minnesota Vikings is, folks, because it was clear as day. If you watch this team's 18 games, 17 in the regular season, and then obviously the playoff loss to Los Angeles, I'll stop mentioning it, sorry. The issue was the offensive line. The issue is the offensive line. That's literally it. That was the issue for the Minnesota Vikings anytime they lost a football game or in that Los Angeles Rams game. It's not Sam Darnold. It's not going to be J.J. McCarthy. They just need to fill in the gaps, fill in the spots on the offensive line. And obviously when your star left tackle goes down, halfway through the season, that's going to throw a cog, or I said that wrong, but that's going to suck pretty much. So folks, welcome back to the channel. I headed to New York tomorrow, so I wanted to get this Vikings video out to you guys in case I don't have anything ready to go for tomorrow. It's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. We're going to make this quick because yeah, it's Valentine's Day. But anyways, hit the like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content, along with a ton of Vikings videos all throughout the offseason and season. So Minnesota, man, what's there to be upset about? They just finished with their second highest win total in franchise history. They also had a top 12 defense. They were the 5th best scoring defense in the NFL. They were the 9th best scoring offense in the NFL. Folks, they just put up 25.4 points per game, and they gave up less than 20. I think they're in a pretty good spot, even if they unfortunately lose some of these free agents that they picked up on one-year contracts last year. The good news is, no matter what your view of Sam Darnold is, whatever your view of J.J. McCarthy is, they have options. You can continue to go with Sam Darnold, or you could just give, everything, give the reins to J.J. McCarthy and give him a chance to flourish. But I also kind of feel like letting Sam Darnold walk would be a massive, not mistake, but it would be a big risk because, once again, as we all know, all right, guys, before we get back into this video, shout out to our sponsor, BetUS. We're over here on their website. Now, I know it's the middle of February, so there's not too much football betting options for this upcoming season, but I did want to give you a gauge of what is available right now. We're looking at the NFC conference winner for this upcoming season, and I actually think this is a very respectable line for the Minnesota Vikings, as you can see right here, plus 1,600 on the money line to win the NFC conference for next season. But guys, doesn't end just there. They're offering 150% bonus on your first deposit and 125% bonus on your next two, all with the code YouTube150. Let's get back to the video. This team just went 14-3. And so if they do let him walk, they would get a compensatory compensatory pick, but it wouldn't be, and it would be a third rounder, but it wouldn't be till 2026. All right. Now, this team doesn't have much draft capital. They've got their round one pick, 24 overall, and then they've got 2 5-round draft picks. That's it. So they're going to have to do a lot of business with the $63.9 million in cap space. Most of their positional needs or their needs for upgrades don't necessarily even come as positional groups. All right. Like, for example, they need another cornerback, whether Byron Murphy is re-signed or not. They need another cornerback, and they needed a cornerback for the whole year, but they still made it work. Unfortunately, this was probably the biggest and only flaw within their defense. They gave up 242 passing yards per game, which was 4th worst in the NFL. But on the flip side, they were the 2nd best rush defense. They were the 4th best sack defense, and they were the number 1 takeaway defense in the NFL this past season, averaging 1.9 takeaways defensively per game. So I'm going to take that. But cornerback, interior defensive line, and guard are probably the 3 bigger positional or positions that they're looking to upgrade this offseason. Now, for example, I was reading a Bleacher Report article, and he's on the headline or the thumbnail. I've got DeForest Buckner on the thumbnail right now. Now, I think, like we said, one of their bigger needs that would come defensively outside of cornerback would be an interior defensive lineman. All right. So I was reading a Bleacher Report article, and they said a couple of top trade targets were Martin Emerson, DeForest Buckner, and Joe Thuney. Now, the issue is their hypothetical trade they would love to see is a 2025 third round pick, a 2025 fifth round pick for DeForest Buckner. They don't have a third round pick for this upcoming season, but I don't think that should shy away the front office, which, by the way, your GM, I always say this, is an absolute baller. Even if it's not DeForest Buckner, and I know that's kind of a long shot, and it's middle of February, so that's kind of why we're talking about possibly a guy like DeForest Buckner or him coming to Minnesota. But my point just really stands here. They only have 3 draft picks, so if they were to make a trade like that, obviously that one's not going to work, but it is still there. But my point just kind of is your GM is a stud, and whatever he decides to do, I'm going to like it a lot. Now, the reason Minnesota doesn't have too many draft picks is they traded a bunch of them last year in exchange for ultimately Dallas Turner that they selected early on in the first round or in the first round last season. They also dealt their 6th and 7th round picks to the Cleveland Browns in 2023 for Zadarius Smith, but they are, keep in mind, expected to be awarded 1 compensatory pick. So that could be a third rounder where you would be able to trade for DeForest Buckner in that situation. Now, 2 things that need to be done regardless. First off, they need to retain Byron Murphy. I know he's not the best cornerback in the National Football League. He's by far the best cornerback on the Minnesota Vikings. And unfortunately, him, Stephon Gilmore, and Shaq Griffin will all be free agents this season. So what I would urge, or what I would prefer the Minnesota Vikings to do, is re-sign Byron Murphy, whatever it takes, write him a check, not necessarily a blank check, but write him a check, get him re-signed, and then go a little bit younger for the defensive back room. A good example would be, like, I saw somebody saying, like, go out for Carlton Davis and then, maybe draft a cornerback. I don't know why. I'm sorry to even talk about the Lions, but Carlton Davis just kind of reminded me of get a guy like Amik Robertson that they did last year that ended up working out beautifully for them. And then they just need more offensive line talent. More specifically, interior offensive line talent. Ed Ingram was benched in favor for Dalton Risner. He's set to be a free agent. Please bring him back. But the point is the left guard spot as well isn't the best. And this year's draft class is very good for offensive linemen. All right. That's it for today. Rapid reaction to your offseason. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that like button, hit that sub button, and we'll see you soon. But most importantly, let me know down below, what do you want the Vikings to do with Mr. Sam Darnold? Peace.